beautiful homemakers. We're continuing with Chapter 8 of Part 4 of the original 1922 Fascinating Womanhood pamphlets. In the last video, we learned that neither clothes nor beauty will make you appear the divine adorable you want to appear unless you act the part. And we talked about that. So this subheading is called How to Get Out of the Rut. Don't hesitate to undertake this acting because it seems insincere. It may seem that way at first because you have so long suppressed the femininity inherent in your nature that a womanly manner seems absurd and awkward. But if you will only persist in your acting, you will find that it is quite as natural to you as it is to others. That it was your former unfeminine or inanimate manner which was the real misrepresentation of your dainty and exquisite self. Acting will at first be necessary, but when you become accustomed to the free and open expression of every shade of your personality, you can forget acting and be your natural, womanly little self. Meantime, it will require a deliberate and conscious effort on your part. Only after a great deal of practice, perhaps, will you be able to succeed. You can't accomplish much in a single day, a single week, or even in a single month. Practice makes perfect, in this as in other matters, and before long you will be astonished at the improvement in your ability to interest men. Meantime, simply make a hobby of acting the part of Angela Human, your model of femininity, and act the part all the time on the street, at parties, at meals, at work, or in play, and in the privacy of your home. Basically, it's fake it till you make it. After a few weeks of such acting, you will find yourself growing out of the cut-and-dried, wooden-like ways by which the real you has been caricatured. You will discover every movement, every expression, every thought and word to be freer, more impulsive, more natural, more womanly, and more interesting. You will not notice the improvement so much when you are watching for it, when you are consciously practicing, as others will notice it when you are unconscious of your own manner, when your interest is centered on other matters. The best feature of these exercises is that for hours at a time you lift yourself out of the habitual rut of manner which has handicapped you in the past. Once you have broken these bad habits, no matter by what means, you will be enabled to form newer and more attractive ones. And this reminds me of a story about a woman who was faking it until she made it. We were going into an intensive 3-day conference, and this woman just randomly came up to me. There was only about 12 people. Took place in the living room, and this woman randomly came up to me before it started while we were still waiting outside, and she asked me if she looked all right. And I told her she looked fine. She grabbed my arm and said that she didn't feel fine, that she was very uncomfortable with what she was wearing, that she wasn't used to a skirt and heels. And was I sure she didn't look inappropriate? Was she really dressed okay? I assured her she looked fine. There was nothing amiss with her attire. That morning in class, as the 12 or 15 of us went in a circle introducing ourselves, she said that she was in the military and that she hadn't worn a skirt and heels in 20 years. She was ill at ease in them, but was told that she would never get married if she didn't look more feminine, and she wasn't confident in how she looked. The men in the class were great. Each one of them spoke up and complimented her on her clothes. She looked natural. On her hair, it was long and up, but that was fine. It wasn't in too tight of a bun. Another complimented on her jewelry. He said he really liked her dangly earrings. Another on the color. She wore a navy skirt, a white top, but her scarf added color. And they even told her she was pretty and did her makeup well. And then another girl, around 17 years old, was very mannish, and she was heavily under her mother's thumb. And her mother had brought her, and she was a very bossy, confident, but beautiful and social woman. Now, she gave the impression of being a socialite. And her daughter obviously felt that she could never measure up to her mother's beauty. So the woman running the class first dealt with the mom. She told her to lay off her daughter, that she was not her and didn't need to be, to go do her own thing and stop expecting her daughter to follow in her footsteps. And then she told the daughter, after many questions, to throw away and cancel all of her magazine subscriptions. There was no reason for her to be discontent. She was fine the way she was. She didn't need to starve herself and be skinnier. That wouldn't change anything anyway. She just needed confidence and a best friend. She needed hobbies that she liked, not her mom's hobbies. She was told that she'd look and feel better if she got a major haircut, because she was hiding her face behind her long hair by letting it fall forward. Her mother was told to hand over the cash and let her choose her own clothes, and to go shopping by herself or with a trusted friend. And my first assignment that day seemed difficult to me, and I wouldn't have dared tried it on my own, but in retrospect, it seems so easy, because things are easier for me now that I've done the major work. Somehow, with just a few questions, the facilitator discerned that I was avoiding being feminine, and that I especially avoided the color pink. I didn't wear dresses, though I wore business skirts. And unlike Ms. Military's below-the-knee skirt, I was fine with wearing much shorter skirts with jackets. But dresses, no. So that was my first assignment. I had to find something pink to wear tomorrow, a pink dress. I had to shop that night or borrow from a friend. Well, luckily, I had been just given a bag of clothing from someone at work, and I had plucked from the bag a short black dress with large, pale pink flowers, and I had stowed it in the back of my closet. I had just liked the material, but I didn't feel comfortable wearing it. It wasn't a church dress. It was more of a play dress. The next morning I tried my usual black pumps with it, but they weren't appropriate with this dress. The dress was too casual. The material was casual. So I'm not sure if I wore sandals or if I wore white Keds with bobby socks. Probably that. But I was very self-conscious. However, I went back to this little conference, and several people commented on how nice I looked. And another woman said, "See, it's no big deal, is it? You're comfortable, you look nice, no one sees anything out of the ordinary. It was all in your head." I realized that I had been repeatedly taught in high school to throw off all things feminine, to be more like a man, which seems ridiculous now, especially since I'd been a cheerleader, a pepster, and had always been naturally feminine in many ways. But after this class, and I got used to wearing this dress in the color pink, and after studying FW, now I just let myself indulge in all things feminine. Dresses, jewelry, tea parties, pink, makeup. I used to get my nails done. Frilly clothes, party clothes, pretty lingerie, lace, even gauzy shoelaces in my keds that made a pretty bow. The only girly thing I was unable to do was to grow my hair long. And another assignment from that weekend was listing 5 people in my life, or celebrities, even fictional characters, who I admired and why. I was to list their characteristics to see what we had in common, who I'd like to emulate. And guess what? Every single one of them was very feminine. I remember one was Jean Tierney, especially when she played the ghost in Mrs. Muir. She was beautiful and timid, yet in many ways strong. Of course, as you know, I loved the house in the movie. And Rex Harrison, while he wasn't my ideal, the man who played the captain, he was definitely masculine and commanding, and yet he was drawn to her feminine charms. I remember whenever she'd state what she wanted in a childlike way, and his phrase would be, "Confound it all, woman!" And then, to end this little story, that very same pink dress that I had disdained and chose to wear in my exercise to overcome my dislike of pink was the dress my husband was captivated by on our first date, and the same dress that my son loved best on me when he was young. And today I just use it as a house dress because it's so threadbare now. But they both still love it on me. We've got 2 more paragraphs. Don't think that you can accomplish a feminine manner by one facial expression, one attitude, or one trick of manner. The secret of attractive femininity consists in constant change, constant ebb and flow of emotion, in the whims and caprices which loiter in the womanly consciousness and lend interest to the face and the entire bearing. The sum of all these changes makes the perfect ensemble. A girl who is constantly changing is interesting. A girl who is always the same is dull. At first, when the new manner seems awkward to you, confine your acting to the privacy of your own home. In this privacy, don't hesitate to act sometimes as you would never think of acting before others. Exaggerate if necessary until you have mastered the various tricks of manner. Then tone yourself down and begin to act before others. You will become bolder and bolder as you become surer of your mastery. It's very true. You must not think that this exercise is something new, unusual, untried, and therefore undependable. Nearly all attractive women are constantly practicing similar exercises. But where you will do it consciously, they, through some prompting instinct of nature, do it unconsciously. Even Marilyn Monroe had to learn how to act femininely. She studied it, and she practiced the art of femininity by watching another woman, mainly Jean Harlow. Now remember, we started off this video with what we talked about in the last video. This sentence, neither clothes nor beauty will make you appear the divine adorable you want to appear unless you act the part. And that reminds me of a book by Lucy Maud Montgomery, the same author who wrote Anne of Green Gables. She wrote a book called The Blue Castle. And let me just read 3 paragraphs to you. Valancy reviewed her whole life between midnight and the early spring dawn. It was a very drab existence. Nothing really pleasant had ever happened to Valancy. When it was over, something had happened to Valancy, perhaps the culmination of the process that had been going on in her mind ever since she had read Dr. Trent's letter. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, the wisest and most accursed hour of the clock. But sometimes it sets us free. I've been trying to please other people all my life and failed, she said. After this, I shall please myself. I shall never pretend anything again. I've breathed an atmosphere of fibs and pretenses and evasions all my life. What a luxury it will be to tell the truth. I may not be able to do much that I want, but I won't do another thing that I don't want to do. Mother can pout for weeks. I shan't worry over it. Despair is a free man. Hope is a slave. Valancy got up and dressed, with a deepening sense of that curious sense of freedom. When she had finished with her hair, she opened the window and hurled the jar of potpourri over into the next lot. It smashed gloriously against the schoolgirl complexion on the old carriage shop. I'm sick of the fragrance of dead things, said Valancy. In this book, Valancy stops playing the part of a people pleaser. She discovers her true self in this book. She does things that she believes is right to do, and she stops worrying about what other people think of her. It is a lovely book. It is written for adults. Valancy is not beautiful at all in the classic sense, but as she discovers her purpose in life, she begins to change and blossom, and without her even realizing it or trying to, she begins catching the eyes of men. Another book that comes to mind is from Grace Livingston Hill, and it's called Crimson Roses. It was written about 100 years ago, and it's all about a girl who is leveling up. Things never really change, do they? Remember that to become a paragon of delicious femininity, it begins with your attitude. Then it moves into having a worthy character, which we have now covered in depth in pamphlets 1 through 4. And it's going to end with presentation, which we'll be talking about more in pamphlet 5. And I'm sorry I have to say this because I'm sure you're tired of hearing it from every channel, but if you like this video, could you please hit the like button? Because what people do is they come on, they listen to 30 seconds, and then they'll hit the dislike button. And then that means the video won't go out to more people. So if you like it, please hit the like button, especially on the last video that was severely ratioed. And the stats say the people not liking the video aren't even listening to it. They're just prejudiced about what I'm reading. Thank you. In the next video, we will be finishing pamphlet 4. The next subsection is called A Bewitching Little Act. See you then. Bye.